Okay, we'll now talk about Roland Barthes. Roland Barthes, we already talked about in structuralism. Now we are going to talk about post-structuralism. Barthes was educated in France, Romania, and Egypt. He did research in lexicology and sociology. And he talked about language, therefore. He was one of the first critics to apply the study of structuralist ideas of Ferdinand de Saussure to literature. He applied the ideas of Ferdinand de Saussure to literature. In the structuralist phase of Barthes, he was preoccupied with how ideologies and value systems are coded in languages and social usages. He talked about how ideologies or myths are coded in languages, how they come into being. He applied structural linguistics on signifying systems like fashion. He applied structural linguistics, structuralist linguistics and its ideas. He applied on culture, fashion, media images, headdress, like that, different aspects of culture he analyzed. In the post-structuralist phase, that is 1970s, his emphasis is on subjectivity and physical experiences of the body. In the post-structuralist phase, he talked more about the body and its experiences. Look at the major works. In the structuralist phase, he wrote Writing Degree Zero, Mythologies, and Elements of Semiology. These are the three major works of Barthes in the early phase: Writing Degree Zero, Mythologies, and Elements of Semiology. Remember that in the correct order. He also wrote Introduction to the Structural Analysis of Narrative. He wrote Introduction to the Structural Analysis of Narrative at this time as well. And then death of the author came, as we saw the other day. It marked the end of structuralism and the beginning of post-structuralism. 1967-68. That is a publication. Now, the post-structuralist works. As I told you, death of the author is also a post-structuralist work. He also wrote S bar Z, where he analyzed Balzac's Saracen. Balzac's short story Saracen he analyzed, and he did this on the basis of 5 codes: proeretic code, hermeneutic code, cultural, semic, symbolic, in that order. No, cultural last, I think. Semic is in the middle. I will see now. S bar Z. If you think in that order only, you will be able to know what is what. Otherwise, you will get confused. I'll show you just now. From work to text and the pleasure of the text. These are also post-structuralist works. We have to memorize this. There are also other works, image, music, text. Then he wrote about Japan. So please read extra and write in the margins also. Now, image, music, text came in 1977. We already know that he talked about myth. What is Barthes' concept of myth? Myth is a language, a mode of signification. It repeats or reiterates Saussure's view that semiology comprises 3 terms: signifier, signified, and sign. He talks about 3 terms: signifier, signified, and sign. He says that sign is a relation. So this is a triadic relationship. It's a tripartite structure. The structure of myth repeats this tridimensional pattern. Myth is second-order signifying system that is illustrated by the example of a young Negro in French uniform saluting with his eyes uplifted. You remember that, don't you? You don't? Yeah. Here we have the first-order signification. That is the linguistic level. It means that the French are militaristic people. Everybody in France is militaristic. The second-order signification is the mythological level. In that level, he says that France is a great empire. All her sons, without any color discrimination, faithfully serve under the French flag. Now, that is a lie. It's a myth. It's a myth created by this image. Now, you should understand that these ideas he adopted from Louis Hemslave. Louis Hemslave. He talked about democracy, freedom, American imperialism, all as such myths wrenched from their historical context to mean and naturalize peace, world order, and security. democracy, freedom, American imperialism. These are all myths like this, all wrenched from their context. Like in Eastern curry powder ad, the man is coming home, the woman is cooking, and he is, I mean the old ad, I don't know the new ads, I don't watch TV. He dips his finger into the curry and he licks it and says, "Nice, how did you manage it?" And she says, "Eastern curry powder." So what is the myth created that all men are working and coming home to eat their wives' food? The wives are all cooking at home and not doing any work, other work. That women don't cook well unless they have Eastern curry powder. So there is a myth created by every advertisement like this. Democracy, freedom, American imperialism are all such myths wrenched from their historical context to mean and naturalize peace, world order, security. America, all Hollywood movies naturalize the idea that America will save us from aliens and attackers. The very principle of myth is to transform history into nature. It is true that many women cook, many women use Eastern curry powder, many husbands come home and eat the food. But the problem with myth is that if there is any woman who doesn't cook or does not want to cook, is she even woman? If there is a man who wants to cook, "I don't want to work, I'll stay at home and cook, you go work," he tells his wife. Big problem. Even we don't like it. So this is myth. The myth of gender, the myth of success, the myth of happiness. Have you met my husband? Okay, so myth transforms history into nature. In history, some people might have done that, but the problem is when it becomes nature. It becomes natural that people should do this and only this, like this. That is the problem. Ideology and culture are therefore kinds of propaganda. They work best when they are not identified as such, because they contribute to the construction of what people think of as common sense. Ideology and culture work best when they are not recognized. In mass media, they are not recognized. Are you able to follow? The whole of France, says Barthes, is steeped in this ideology. India also, everywhere we turn. All the texts that we read, every activity we do is steeped in the same ideologies. That is why we are all able to follow it so blindly without questioning it, because there is nowhere we are without it. So it defines us. It defines our relationships with the world. Barthes talked about this image. You know what is for lunch? Pansini. There is a half-opened bag. There are bell peppers and tomatoes and onions. And the title is Italian. And the colors of the Italian flag are the colors of the product. So in France, Italian is exotic. There are different levels to this advertisement. It shows a very trendy bag, so it must be a very fast-paced young people's life that Pansani is adopted for. You know, people who are living very fast-paced life, who can't cook elaborately, might use Pansani pasta. Something like that is, that's why the bag is half open. This has a linguistic message. Do you know what is for lunch? Pansani. That is a linguistic message. And there is a denoted message. The caption is the denoted message. And the connoted message is that Pansani is Italian and exotic. The literal message and also symbolic message is there. Literal message is a non-coded iconic message. The picture itself is the non-coded iconic message. That bag, those colors, that style of the image, everything. The coded iconic message is the connotation. It is already, it's given there and not given there. It is some of it is in our head, Some of it is in color, some of it is in language. Like that, in different levels, it is all coded. That is what he means. Now, it is the overall effect that we understand as the message of the advertisement. Clear? Now, Death of the Author is the essay, 1967-68. Deconstructionist and anti-humanist in approach. Anti-humanist because the human being is not the, what can I say, the center of the theory. This theory is anti-humanist, shows that the author is de-centered. The author is no longer there, valid. This was written at the peak of French structuralism, published in Aspen and later in Image Music Text. It responds to traditional literary criticism, which sought meaning through the author's biography, psychology, or intention. Barthes' goal is to liberate the text from the tyranny of authority and to open it to multiple readings. Western criticism treated the author as a creative genius, the god of meaning. Western criticism treated the author as a creative genius. The author is God, author God. Barthes dismantles this notion. The author is not the origin, but a product of discourse shaped by language, history, and ideology. Barthes is saying that the author is not the origin of meaning. He is just part of the discourse of the text shaped by language, history, and ideology. The death of the author is followed by the birth of the reader, not just the reader, but the scripter or writer. The author and the reader become the writers or scripters who write meanings into the text. Meaning does not originate from the author, but from language itself. The author is the person, the writer is the function. The writer is created by the text itself. The meaning is created from the language, from the reader's creative engagement in the text. Once a text is written, it escapes the author's control and becomes a tissue of quotations. The text is not just one entity, it is a tissue of quotations drawn from cultural codes. Writing is performative, not expressive. ഇല്ല എന്തായിരുന്നു പേര് നസ്രീൻ എപ്പോഴാ പഠിപ്പിക്കണേ എനിക്ക് ഒരാൾ എന്നെ കാണാൻ വരും അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ 12:30 വിട്ടാൽ 1:30 പഠിപ്പിക്കൂ എന്താ കരീബിയൻ എന്താ പഠിപ്പിക്കും ഇല്ല ഫ്രീ ആവണേ ഉള്ളൂ എപ്പോഴെത്താ ഓക്കെ അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ഓക്കെ ഞാനൊരു 10-15 മിനിറ്റിൽ റെഡിയാവും ഓക്കെ ഇല്ല ആ ശരി ആ ഓക്കെ എന്നെ കാണാൻ വരുന്നവർ കുറച്ച് ഇവിടെ നോക്കാനാ പറയണേ അവിടെ വരുവാണ് വർത്താനൊന്നുമില്ല എല്ലാത്തിനും ഫോർമലായിട്ടിരിക്കാൻ പറയണം അല്ല എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒരു നവംബർ 8 മൂഡാണ് ഇവിടെ അപ്പൊ അവർക്ക് എന്താ ഭക്ഷണം വേണ്ടെന്ന് ഞാൻ ചോദിച്ചില്ല അല്ല ഭക്ഷണം എന്താന്ന് പറഞ്ഞില്ല അത് ചോദിക്കാനാ ഞാൻ വിളിച്ചേ എവിടുന്ന ഓർഡർ ചെയ്യണ്ടെന്ന് ഒരു ക്ലൂതാ വെജിറ്റേറിയൻ അപ്പൊ ഒരു മിക്സ് ഓഫ് വെജ് ആൻഡ് നോൺ വെജ് മേടിക്കാം ഹെൽത്തി ആവണം എന്നൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടോ അതോ നോർമൽ ശരി ഓക്കെ അപ്പൊ പാതിരക്കോഴി നല്ല മേടിച്ചു അവിടെ ഒരു മിക്സ് ഓഫ് വെജ് ആൻഡ് നോൺ വെജ് എന്നിട്ടെങ്കിലും ഭയങ്കര എനിക്ക് പഠിപ്പിച്ചു തീർക്കണം 3 പേര് 3 പിന്നെ അവരുണ്ട് ഋത്തിക്കും സുദീപും ഒത്തിരി അൺഹെൽത്തി വേണ്ട സൂര്യയോടും കൂടെ ചോദിക്കും ഞാൻ പൈസ ഇടാം അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അയാളോട് ചോദിക്കാം എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു നോൺ വെജും കൂടെ വേണേ അവർക്ക് ചിലർക്ക് അതായിരിക്കും വേണ്ടത് അതിനോട് പറയണ്ടല്ലോ. ഋത്തിക്കിന്റെ അടുത്ത് ചോദിച്ചാൽ മതി. ഋത്തിക്കിനോട് ചോദിച്ചാൽ മതി. Okay. But death of the author, once a text is written, the author's control, sorry, online people, the author's control is no longer on the text. The text, like a film. After a film is made, the filmmaker will have to sit and watch the film, right? So it becomes a tissue of quotations drawn from cultural codes. Writing is performative, not expressive. It is just a performance. That is, it is just a putting together of many elements. It does not express the author's mind. Every text is intertextual, composed of references, echoes, and influences from previous texts. Clear? The writer's role is that of the scripter. The writer nu parnal author alla. The author is the person. The writer is the function. The reader and the author both are writers. One who assembles, not one who invents. There is no pure originality. Meaning arises in the interplay of cultural codes. Death of the author draws on Sassurian linguistics and says language precedes and determines the user and speaker. Language comes before the user and speaker. The writer is an agent or medium created in language rather than existing before or after it. The writer is created by the language. Are you able to follow the thing? The writer is created by the language. It is Midsummer Night's Dream that is creating that Shakespeare who wrote it. The requirements of the text makes the reader makes the writer perform in certain ways. Like a mother bringing up two children in two different ways. It is the requirement of the child. It is the child who determines who the mother is to the child. Clear now? Right. So the reader becomes the site where meaning happens. Each act of reading is rewriting, an interpretation shaped by the reader's cultural position and imagination. The reader replaces the author as the creative agent in the literary process. Suddenly, the reader begins to make meanings. So he is the creative agent. This connects with Foucault's what is an author. In what is an author, the author is a function, a cultural function. This is also related to reader response criticism, where the reader is creating meanings. Deconstruction also talks about the absence of fixed meanings. Here, in Death of the Author also, absence of fixed meanings, because every reader can create their own meanings. Clear now? Now, in Barthes' later essay From Work to Text, he expands this idea. The text is a field of production, not consumption. The text, we are not simply sitting and consuming the text, we are producing the text. Now, the last thing important in Barthes is this, the S bar Z, where he, as you already know, talks about readerly text and writerly text. The readerly text is a text that you just consume, that you sit and read. You don't have to write or actively create anything. The readerly text is the text that you just read. The writerly text is the text that the reader has to write. Readerly text, you just read. Writerly text, the reader has to create meanings and write, like the wasteland. If you said, okay, read wasteland, like this, half listening. If you said, will you understand wasteland? You have to actively create meanings. Whereas some mainstream poetry and all, it's TV serial. Even if you sleep in between, nothing will happen. You will still understand. The readerly text gives comfortable pleasure, while the writerly text gives jouissance. The readerly text gives comfortable pleasure, while the writerly text gives bliss. The readerly text does not disturb you. It will just please you. Whereas the writerly text imposes a state of loss. It defamiliarizes us. It unsettles us. It disturbs us. Isn't that clear? Author God. Let's just some graphics and all for you. Look at the screen. Author God is like Ganapati, who is writing Mahabharatam. Author God is like God, Christian God, who is giving life to Adam. Bhayangar animation. You have to look at the screen. Author is going and reader is coming. Ding, 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 ding. So at the beginning of Death of the Author, he is quoting from Saracen and saying, who speaks here? The author, the character, society? We can never know. Because writing is the destruction of every voice, the destruction of every point of origin. In writing, the subject slips away. He is saying that this is there in Mallarmé, Valéry, Proust. All these people already talked about writing like that. Like in modernism, all these people wrote as if they don't know how to control their text. Look at how T.S. Eliot wrote. As if the author is not there to bring meaning and stability to the text. Did you understand? So many earlier writers challenged the centrality of the author. Writing is not the act of recording reality, but it is a performative act. It is drawn from culture and it has no origins. A text no longer releases a single theological meaning originating from the author God. The text unity does not come from that author. Rather, it lies in its destination, the scripter or reader. The text unity and meaning lies in the scripter or reader. That is the destination of the text. In the beautiful Allah. A text is like a quilt. Many hands, many things coming together to make the text. Text is a tissue of quotations drawn from innumerable centers of culture rather than from one individual experience. Text is like the Tower of Babel. In the Bible, people speaking different languages are all in the Tower of Babel. അതുപോലെ a text is like the Tower of Babel, speaking many languages, many voices. And when I got bored, I just made this picture. Did you like it? This also I made and I signed my name here. Can you see my name? Roland Barthes made these pictures. In case you didn't understand, he has illustrated. This is like meaning in the text. അയാൾ വെറുതെ പേന തെളിയണമെന്ന് നോക്കിയ പേപ്പർ ആയിരുന്നിരിക്കും എന്റെ മേശപ്പുറത്തുണ്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ കുറെ പേപ്പറൊക്കെ കുത്തി വരച്ചൊക്കെ എന്നെ എടുത്ത് കളയരുത് ചിലപ്പോൾ അതൊക്കെ വലിയ കാര്യങ്ങളാവും ടെക്സ്റ്റ് ദാറ്റ് ഗിവ് പ്ലഷർ I mean TV serial and texts that give bliss. That is, if you understand it, it gives bliss. ഈ സാരസീൻ എൻ്റെ സമയം ഞാൻ കുറച്ച് മെസ്സപ്പ് ചെയ്തു. I got tied up there in some work during the break. I need like 10 or 15 minutes for this, which I may do only in the afternoon. I'm letting you go because these people have to come and meet us and then go, the people who are coming. അതുകൊണ്ട് you have lunch and then start with Nazreen's class. And after Nazreen's class, I will take 10 minutes. പെട്ടെന്ന് പഠിക്കാൻ പറ്റും. പക്ഷെ I don't want to keep them waiting. അതാ. Okay? I will share the link in the afternoon also. Okay? Have lunch now. Amrita, Madiha, and Milan.